Hi honeys, it's Michelle. In this video, I'm going to do a review of each of the 4 books that I read in the month of April. I thought it'd be fun to sit over here. I've got my cat Zelda right here taking her afternoon nap, and she did agree to be in the video before I started filming, so don't worry, she's not going to get mad or anything. Right? The first book that I read was Before She Knew Him by Peter Swanson. This book is about neighbors. Basically, this lady named Hen, short for Henrietta, and her husband move into a new house, and they go over to their neighbor's house for dinner, and immediately something happens that makes Hen think that the husband of the couple next door might be up to something. It's kind of got a Rear Window feel to it. There are parts of this book that are very dark. It kind of reminds me of Dexter in a way, in the sense that there's a vigilante in the book. And of course, as always, I question whether or not I agree with somebody being a vigilante. Is it wrong to remove bad people from this world when they're hurting other people? Or is it right? And who has the right to decide who's bad and who's not? So it's pretty fascinating. I love books like that that compel me to think about such issues. There's a twist at the end of the book that I guessed about 2/3 of the way in. So it took me quite a while to pick up on the twist. But boy, after I did pick up on that twist, the last 100 pages or so were very fast paced and exciting. It was hard to put down. This was one of those books during the last 100 pages, not the first. How many pages is it here? Let's see. It's 300 pages. So the first 200 pages, I'm not going to say that it kept me up late at night, but the last 100 pages, I stayed up way past my bedtime having to find out what was going on. I could not wait to finish the book because I was so excited about what the outcome was going to be. One thing I really liked, though, when I did figure out what I thought the surprise twist at the end might be, I doubted myself and spent the next 100 pages thinking, I've got to be wrong, right? I couldn't be right about this. Am I right? I'm right, aren't I? Right? No. Yes, I am. So it was really fun. This book, it picks up right away and it draws you in right away for maybe the first 50 to 100 pages. And then the middle of the book really focuses a little bit more on the backstory of each of the characters. And then the end is the last 100 pages is where all the excitement and wrap up happens. But I highly recommend this. I thought it was really good. It was a fun read. It'd be a great thing to read if you're, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. My first thought was it's a great book to read if you're traveling. Maybe if you're on a plane or something to just kind of get you through when you're just sitting around bored on a plane. But who's flying right now? So that's not a good, it's a good one to read if you're laying around at home with nothing to do. There you go. That sounds better. So that's what we'll stick with. But I highly recommend this one. So this is Before She Knew Him by Peter Swanson. And I got this book a while ago. It was my March of 2019 Book of the Month Club book. So it was a little while ago. Okay, the next book that I read was The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. Before I get into the book, it's kind of funny. The memory that I have of this book and the last book that I read was I went to Barnes and Noble having no idea I wasn't going to be going again anytime soon. While my husband went to run some errands, I stopped at Barnes and Noble. I was walking around, just loving my book-loving life and trying to just see if there was any books I wanted. I was looking for a book for my book club and I couldn't find it anywhere. And they didn't have it at Barnes and Noble either, but I ended up picking up some other books. This book here was a book that one of the sales girls, she told me when she saw me looking at it, she said, you might want to get that if you want it, because every time we put out a shipment, it's gone within a couple hours. And I thought, well, it was only this and one other copy sitting there. So I thought, well, I better grab it then. Why not, right? So that's kind of my fun little backstory on this book. This book it's a kind of book, there's a bunch of characters. So that's a little hard to keep track of. And the book bounces around from character to character. And it might be current stuff going on, but sometimes when it bounces around, it does backstory stuff as well. So if you're not into books that go like this, it might not be the book for you. If you don't mind that though, get it, you will love it. What I like though about all the different characters and all the different jumping around is it creates a sense of being lost for the character. And I believe that was intentional. And when you read the book, you'll see, if you haven't read it yet, you'll see what I mean, that I think the author wanted me to feel lost and confused while I was reading it. It just enhanced the enjoyment of the book. There were certain parts of the book that really shocked and surprised me. I will say I didn't find the ending to be surprising though. I kind of saw that part coming, but that's okay. This book highlights the connection that we have with people and that it might not always last forever. Sometimes people come in and out of our lives and it's okay for them to leave our lives. It also highlights human pain and the need sometimes for isolation, which is really weird to think of right now because I think the last thing any of us feel like we need is isolation. But there is a time and place for it, and this book highlights it. I did guess who did it about halfway through the book. However, there were so many other surprises and twists and turns that I still found the book very enjoyable and amusing. Now, this book, one of the things that really added to the fun about it for me, it was set in the Scottish countryside, and it in a very remote area, and just the description of it, I felt like I was an Outlander or something, but now, and it reminded me of The Shining, just like that. If you scream, no one will hear you, kind of thing, and the fact that some of the characters start to kind of lose it a little bit in isolation. So if you haven't read this book, run out and get it. It was really good. And now I want to read more of her books. It's very compelling to me. This author, the way she writes, how she sets things up, I'm kind of in love. So I think I'm going to get more of her books. The next book that I read was In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. And this book was set in Holcomb, Kansas. It was about a family that got murdered. And this was based on a true story. I did not like this book at all. And let's see, what page was it? Around, I guess a little less than halfway through, I finally gave up and decided to stop reading it. I just didn't like it. Why didn't I like it? Let me count the ways. It was written nicely, like his style of writing is nice. I felt like there was too much fluff. Like I wanted to know, okay, who got killed? Why did they get killed? Who killed them? Right? But most of the book to me that I read felt like a backstory on the killers, but I didn't really want a backstory on the killers. And then if I do have a backstory on the killers, I want it to have something to do with the killing. But there was a lot of letters that one of the killers got while in prison from family members. Obviously, that had nothing to do with the murder, and I didn't find anything that was said in the letters to maybe be something that provoked him into wanting to kill someone. Like it was just felt very like he was just trying to make the book as long as he could or something. So for me, it was just very dry and boring. And I hate to say that because I heard from quite a few people when I said that when I did my Coffee in a Classic unboxing, a lot of people said that they love this book and they couldn't wait for me to read it. So I'm so sorry, but I didn't like it. Maybe it's because I'm in quarantine and I'm looking for a little more amusement. I don't know. But I just didn't like it. I don't know if I read it in a different time in my life. Like if my life was really fast paced and exhausting and I just wanted to relax at night before going to bed, maybe this would be a great book to read because it is kind of slow and dry and just everything takes so long. It felt like quicksand for me. I then maybe I would enjoy it, but right now that's not what I'm looking for. I want excitement. I want something that's high paced. I want to escape into another world. It just didn't do any of that for me. Now, before I get into the last book that I read, I wanted to tell you a few things. The first thing I wanted to tell you is that I have a Goodreads page now. I put it up. I don't have any friends on there yet, but you are welcome to become my friend on there. The name of my Goodreads profile, I'll put it right here. I can't remember what it was, but I'll put it right here, and I'll also put a link for it in the description box below. Now, the last book I read, parts of it remind me of a cozy mystery, but I felt like I should let you know what a cozy mystery is because in the past, whenever I've talked about cozy mysteries to people, they don't seem to typically know what they are. And I don't know why, because there's a lot of people that read cozy mysteries. But people just, a lot of book lovers don't know what they are. So this is what they are. These kind of books, I'm sure you see them every time you go to a bookstore and wonder what they are. There's usually some kind of arts or crafts or cooking or something mixed in with a whodunit. It's usually got like a amateur sleuth who tries to solve crimes in their local area. So it's kind of like Nancy Drew, but with some kind of a twist to it. So this series is my favorite cozy murdery series. It's Krista Davis, and she writes her Diva series. I've probably read, I think there's 13 books in this series. Not that I'm really into it or anything, but there's 13 of them. So if I know that off the top of my head, I'm pretty into it, right? There's 13 of them. I think I've read 10 of them more than once. That's how much I love her books. And her main character is a gal who is a cook, and she likes to cook for her friends and family, and she likes to do catering and that kind of stuff. But anyway, little side note, I love these. Sorry, it's hot in here. Okay. But the reason I wanted to mention cozy mysteries is one, I read a lot of them, so you'll probably start seeing them in my book reviews. And two, the last book I read was this one. And this is the other book that I bought the day that I went to Barnes and Noble and got this one. So it was just this wonderful, glorious Barnes and Noble extravaganza that, like I said, I had no idea at the time I wouldn't be going back anytime soon. Usually about once a month I'm in there walking around and grabbing books. But so I got this book. It was on a summer reads thriller section. And this book reminded me, I know the cover doesn't seem as such, but it reminds me of a cozy mystery novel, kind of, in the sense that the main character, her name is Josephine, but they call her Jo for short. She does a lot of baking and cooking in the book, and so it kind of created that nice, cozy feel. And I also had that Nancy Drew feel that the cozy mysteries had. Now, the main character is not a sleuth, though. Basically, she lives in a house, and the house next door is haunted, and there's people constantly moving in, getting scared, and moving right out and leaving all their belongings behind. And a new person moves in that she really likes and gets attached to, and she starts going into the house, and more spooky things start happening there. But this book was lighthearted and funny, but also scary and spooky. Another thing about Josephine that I just love is she has cats. As you might have noticed, I am a cat person. But I loved this book. And I mean, I really loved it. It reminded me, it was kind of like a book that I would have read. Okay, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of when I was a teenager and I was reading R.L. Stine books, and I would lay down on the couch and just read a whole book on a weekend or something. Like I just loved R.L. Stine books when I was in high school. This was obviously more adult than an R.L. Stine book, but it reminded me of that. Just that fun, spooky kind of book. I couldn't put it down. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I am actually going to save this and put it in my reread pile. That's how much I loved it. It'll probably be right there with my cozy mystery novels that I like to read and reread. But I just thought it was very fun and exciting. I loved that it made me laugh. I had a couple times where I got tears in my eyes. I mean, I just genuinely thought it was all around a solid book. So I'm kind of shocked that in the month of April, I came across two authors that I am now wanting to read more books from their collection. That's pretty surprising for me. It's not that often anymore that I read a book that I want to read again. So read it, read it, read it. So I'm curious if you do read this or you have read it, I want to know what you think. But with any of these books, if you read them, let me know what you think. Even if you read In Cold Blood and you loved it, tell me why I'm wrong. You might not change my mind, but it's still, people don't have to agree with me. It's not a big deal if you don't. But I love hearing what other people think about books that I too have read. Now, I do want to let you know I'm going to be doing a Barnes & Noble book haul soon. I think in a few days it should be here. I ordered 4 books off of barnesandnoble.com and I wanted to share with you what I got and why I got it. I'm just super excited about these books. And then hopefully I'll be able to read at least some of them in May and I can put them in my next review or in the reviews to come. I did want to mention too, I have made it my personal goal, or maybe not a goal, but I've just decided that because I am a book lover and one of my favorite things in the whole wide world is going to a bookstore, I'm only going to be buying books from bookstores in the foreseeable future. I feel like Amazon and Walmart and Target, they all get plenty of my money in other avenues, but books won't be one of them anytime soon. I know that Barnes and Noble and my other local bookstores around here are really hurting, and so I want to try to support them as much as I can. So I will probably be doing book hauls also for the foreseeable future. Why not, right? I mean, if you're watching this video, you're probably a book lover just like I am. So just be sure to keep an eye out for my book haul videos and for my book review videos. And if there's any other kind of book videos that you want to see from me, let me know. I will consider doing those as well. And I will be back at the very beginning of June with a book review of all the books that I read in May. All right, well, that wraps it up for my April book review. I hope that you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. You have a great rest of your day. Bye.